30 East Drive, Pontefract looks just like any other 1950s built council house on the street. However, a sinister side hides within the walls. Hello spooklets and welcome back to the channel, and if this is the first time you are seeing this face,
subscribe for spooky shit.
So if you are new on a Monday on this channel, 7 PM UK time, you get to see investigations I go on, and on a Thursday we talk about the ghosties. And today we're going to talk about 30 East Drive. There are so many mixed signals I get about this place, and I thought, do you know what, I'm going to look into it. We're going to look into it and we're going to talk about it. So we're going to talk about the history, we're going to talk about the hauntings, and we're going to talk about some people's experiences too. Before we get started though, guys, I want to say a huge thank you to the subscribers on this channel that are channel members. You guys are little legends. But yeah, let's delve in and let's find out about 30 East Drive. 30 East Drive is the domain of somewhat a malevolent entity who has come to be known as Fred, or the Black Monk. He is believed to be the most violent poltergeist in Europe and has been making his presence known for over 50 years. Over the years, there have been many different explanations given regarding who this entity is. He was known to the press as Mr. Nobody, but the Pritchard family who lived there called him Fred. In time, he came to be known as the Black Monk, mainly because when he has appeared as an apparition, he appeared to be dressed in a long black robes. 30 East Drive is now owned by film producer Bill Bungay, who bought the house after making When the Lights Went Out, which was based loosely on the Pritchards' experiences. 30 East Drive is now open to visitors, although the owners do not recommend staying the night and will even try to discourage you from doing so. The website clearly states that this is not a traditional guest house or bed and breakfast, and visitors will not be covered by insurance if they choose to visit. Okay, that's interesting to me, right?
£300!
From £300 to stay there, is that for like a month? No, that would be really cheap actually. £300, I'm guessing that's for a night. We're going to look into this and we're going to go onto the 30 East Drive website in a second. But it says that the owners do not recommend staying the night, right? But yet they obviously take people in so they can investigate, because it's not a normal bed and breakfast sort of thing, guest house or bed and breakfast, it says. Why would you put that up? Oh, it's that reverse psychology, isn't it? It's that reverse psychology. So they want you to stay, so they make it out like you wouldn't be able to handle it. So that, because there's a reverse psychology. See what you're doing there, Bill. Okay, so let's look at the history. So I am on 30 East Drive, Pontefract. The website that I was on a minute ago that I read off was experiencewakefield.co.uk. So yeah, 30 East Drive website, it's 30eastdrive.com, not the word 30, it's in the numbers, if that made any sense. So let's read the history. Jean, Joe, Philip and Diane Pritchard moved into number 30 East Drive, Pontefract in August 1966. So Jean and Joe were husband and wife, Philip and Diane were the children. Philip was 15 and Diane was 12. Almost immediately during the hot summer bank holiday, Philip and his grandmother first witnessed a baffling phenomenon. I can't say that word. A fine layer of chalk-like dust falling not from the ceiling but from a level below head height. In an effort to clean up before Philip's holidaying parents returned, Mrs. Kelly, Philip's auntie who had been fetched by her mother to observe the falling dust, went to the kitchen for some cleaning implements, whereupon she slipped on a pool of water that had mysteriously appeared. Her efforts to mop up the water were thwarted by more pools appearing on the linoleum in front of her and Philip's very eyes. No, stop it, you're going to hurt yourself, Susie. This was the beginning of several years of incredible, inexplicable events. Green foam appearing from taps and toilet even after the water was turned off, the tea dispenser being activated resulting in all the dried tea cascading onto the work surface, lights being turned off and on, plants leaping out of their pots and landed on the stairs, cupboards shaking violently, photographs being slashed with a sharp knife, and endless list of levitating and thrown objects, including a solid oak sideboard. Dubbed Mr. Nobody by the local press in 1968, the family preferred to refer to the poltergeist simply as Fred, perhaps as a way of normalising it. As no number of initiatives could persuade the entity to leave the family in peace, and house-proud mother Jean refused to be terrorised out of her house by an entity. Exorcisms were met with indignation, walls would seep holy water, faces were slapped, people were shoved down the stairs, and Fred's hands would appear from nowhere and conduct the Christian songs aimed at shooing him off, whilst wearing huge women's fur gloves. In fact, many of Fred's antics were both amazing and often highly amusing, like when he calmly poured an entire jug of milk he removed from the fridge over a sceptical aunt, leaving the kids in stitches. I have never known of activity as such as that. I'll be interested to know the experiences people have had in 30 East Drive, I'm not gonna lie. Ordinarily, poltergeists aren't known for causing grievous bodily harm, and although Fred caused a few bruises and scrapes and a lot of heart-stopping scares, in particular to Diane, seemingly the focus of the haunting, it is rare for a poltergeist to become excessively violent and cause physical harm. But in the case of Fred, that indeed became the case. Late on in his residency, when both Philip and Diane were beginning to exit adolescence, the activity reached a new climatic height, with Diane's long hair suddenly standing on its end, followed by her being dragged kicking and screaming up the stairs, an event that left her seriously traumatised and with clearly visible finger marks on her throat. I've never known such activity, and although I did know this is, I'm going to be completely honest, 30 East Drive, all I knew was that there's this black monk. That's all I knew. That's it. So, wow. If this is true, wow. Oh, because the amount of investigations I've been on, and I've not had anything like that happen to me. If this is true, then wow. Wow. So, still on the 30 East Drive website, we're going to move on to Bill Bungay, who I think I'm saying his name right. He obviously now owns the property. I'm just going to read what he says as his experiences. So let's delve into this. So it says, Bill Bungay, adman, film producer and new owner of the property, reflects. What possessed me, forgive the pun, to buy the most infamous haunted house in Europe? Simply because I had recently made a movie about the house called When the Lights Went Out, with director and good friend of mine and native of Pontefract, Pat Holden. After completing the movie, I was looking for original ways of promoting When the Lights Went Out when I discovered that the actual house where all these incredible events allegedly happened was for sale, and it was cheap. So I bought it. This resulted in the coolest red carpet movie premiere ever, where two competition winners walked the tiny red carpet down the garden path into number 30 East Drive to watch the movie about the actual house. That's pretty cool. Of course, the truth is that despite having visited a very dark house in Coventry and spoken with a family that were being terrorised by a poltergeist, I still remained sceptical. To me, if the Black Monk ever existed, then surely after 40 years it would be long gone, an assumption that proved to be terrifyingly wrong. Now, I don't know, this is why I do what I do, but are spirits not attached to places forever? Do they go after a certain amount of time? That's a question. I never really thought of that. I just assumed that they're there. Some of them get stuck in a place. Some of them move on. During a gathering of the stars of the movie at the house, I met the neighbour, Carol. She was quick to inform me that now the house was once again open to visitors, lots of visitors, the activity had started again in earnest. And by the way, Fred was stood by the stairs observing us. Turned out that Carol was something of a psychic and had encountered the poltergeist a number of times in her adjoining property. Needless to say, I was reluctant to regard her comments with anything less than the same healthy degree of skepticism I had carried around with me since I was first told the story by Pat some 20 years earlier. For me, the idea of making a movie about a poltergeist that moved into a council house instead of the cliched creaking mansion house or dank medieval castle was a sitter. I didn't feel I needed to believe in the existence of ghosts or poltergeists in order or justify making a movie about them. I mean, come on. Then I met Hannah Clifford and Tasha Connor, the two starlets from my movie, and suggested a photo as a memento. As we posed, a friend took a pic on my iPhone and a phone with 75% charge went flat and died in a beat. Okay. I tried not to think anything of that either, blaming a technical fault on a perfectly healthy iPhone, but I had to let the photo opportunity slip, or so I had thought. After I had recharged my phone, I checked to see if the pic was there, to no avail. In fact, it wasn't until weeks later that this photo suddenly appeared on the phone. I was fairly sure it hadn't been taken, and I am certain it wasn't in my phone library immediately after I had recharged my phone. I checked thoroughly. Then the stories started coming in from Carol the neighbour and now key holder of the house. Reports of 3 to 4 a.m. bumps and bangs coming from number 30, glowing blue balls of energy in the corridor, the duvet on Carol's son's bed being formed into the shape of a man on his bed. That's creepy. The black shadow of a very tall entity coming through the wall into her house, and so on. It was back. Or rather, the truth it seemed was that it had always been there, living in quiet harmony with Jean Pritchard all the while, as in fact the activities had restarted before I took possession of the property, with the apparent sound of a TV blaring in number 30, despite the property being completely empty, a report that had Philip Pritchard, now in his late 50s, understandably quite alarmed. Then I witnessed something indisputable with my own flipping eyes. A documentary about the house and local community was being made, and I took the opportunity to visit the production crew on their last day of filming. Being professionals, they were fairly understated about any events that may have happened while they had filmed at the property. The kettle switching on and superheating of its own volition, the case of the constantly missing thermostat, the remote kind that you sit on the mantelpiece, the researcher being pinned down onto the bed in the small room, might have been a night terror, true, and my personal favourite, possible evidence of the poltergeist's continuing fascination with keys. Back in the Pritchards' day, a bunch of keys consisting of all the keys of the house fell from the chimney when Jean was brushing the flue, including a peculiar key said to be a large medieval door key. So it was intriguing to me that a bunch of keys belonging to one of the producers had gone missing. The crew hunted high and low and had all but given up, finding them when someone had the idea to look inside the old vacuum cleaner I had purchased from a charity shop to dress the house. To my knowledge, it doesn't work, and even if it did, it would never have the power to suck up a heavy bunch of keys. Plus, I suspect you'd notice if you did. Anyway, the crew hit the road at around 2 a.m, leaving me alone with 2 colleagues to tidy up. I went out into the garden to clear up any litter. Now, what's interesting is that when you are in an environment like that, a place with a paranormal reputation, you find yourself being extra vigilant. And by now, my spider senses were more than tingling. You think about every move you make. I'm picking up this piece of litter, I'm walking it to the wheelie bin, I am lifting the bin lid, and so on. So I remember clearly that it was a very cold and calm night, the streets were completely clear, and I was definitely alone outside. I looked at the double gates and naturally wanted to secure them before my departure. One side of the wrought iron double gate was open, so I closed it, dropped the plunger into the hole and pushed, using a bit of effort, a concrete block against the gate, securing it firmly. Nothing less than a determined individual was going to open that gate. And before you say it, there's no slope, no spring in the gate, no bush to hide a prankster in, nothing. I turned back towards the house and decided it was time to get my colleagues out of the house for us to hit the road. They came racing out of the kitchen door, the only door I had the key for and therefore the only door open, and were understandably very relieved to finally get out. I'd locked the door and we'd be done, except the keys had gone. No sign of them. But that wasn't the half of it. I glanced over at the back gate one last time and to my horror, the side I had closed 2 minutes earlier, plunger and all, was open again. And I mean completely open. 90 degrees, the concrete block simply pushed aside. My first response, everyone does it, was to accuse my 2 colleagues of playing tricks on me. But I knew they had been upstairs installing a lampshade in the dark the whole time. I definitely closed the gate and there was absolutely no one out at all. The hairs on the back of my neck took about an hour to settle back down. Now that is when you are spooked. It wasn't until the following day when the locksmith was replacing the lock that Carol, my psychic neighbour, casually explained to me that it happened all the time. It or Fred, as by now I too had started to call him out of some form of respect, in the vain hope that he would spare me. Moved around the neighbourhood. This confirmed by other neighbours that have subsequently complained to me personally about the entity running past their windows after hours, as if I could somehow stop Fred from freaking out the locals. Friends have since had the courage to stay overnight. Smart, grounded, helpfully sceptical friends. The list of things that occurred to them boggled the mind, subtle stuff, but nevertheless real. Other visitors described columns of ice-cold air in the corridor, every radiator in the house being turned up full. Reported by a friend that installs radiators, he had turned them all down himself and was bemused by what had turned them all full on by the morning. Oh. And the cupboard under the stairs being impossible to open, trust me, it opens easily. Harry Potter's locked in there. Only one group of friends seemingly had nothing happen to them, but I had observed how calm the house felt when they went for their visit. Plus they did reach for the beers, perfectly understandable. And it is recognised that stimulants are not advised if you want to experience something paranormal. Don't ask me why, but a lot of the stuff can be quite subtle. And a few bevs have been known to take the edge off things. That said, when we walked in, Darren from next door was trying to put 100 pieces of puzzle that had been spread all over the carpet back into their box, except the box was thoroughly taped up, as it had been since I bought it from the charity shop. He broke the side of the box in my presence to return the pieces. Okay, that's weird. So now what? Well, given no one wants to buy my house, which is fair enough I suppose, yet many people have expressed an interest in visiting, so why not offer it up to visitors? Not as your run-of-the-mill guest house, but something out this world, literally. But here's the thing, I pay the council tax on the goddamn place, and I promise you I have never stayed there, and nor do I have any intention of staying there. I know, lightweight, I hear you say. But I have now firmly left the school of skeptic. There is definitely something deeply profound and intimidating, though I am of the view that there is a scientific explanation, but that's another story. In this house, so frankly, I think you'd be nuts to make a booking. Okay, so that bit's the confusing thing for me. Like, he doesn't want you to stay, but he's opened it up as a visitor place, like, so you can go visit and experience paranormal. I don't get it. I think it's all like reverse psychology, if I'm honest. It just entices more and more people to want to stay. from £300. Is this per person? What's going on? £300? And I know a lot of people go there. £300? Sorry, I couldn't do it. I just don't know. I've had so many different things in my ear of different people. Not because they got nothing. It's not that at all. Because I've said this time and time again, you could go to the most haunted house in the world, which this seems to be that, with whatever's been going, you know, what I've read out, what's happened to the Pritchard family there. That is serious haunting, and I've not really heard anything like that. But you could go to the most haunted house in the world and nothing happened for you. It's just, paranormal's rare. Do you know what I mean? If I went to a paid location, it would be more for the history side of things. If nothing happened, it wouldn't bother me, because you'd want to experience something, but I know it's rare, so I can't be disappointed because you're going at your own risk. So just for the history side of things, then yeah, it would be good. Do I think that the Pritchards made this up? I don't know. I would like to delve in more to the story and read more on it. But I've had mixed signals on the house, and it's not one that I want to go to at the moment until I've looked further into it. I've even heard people talk about Carol, the neighbour, and that apparently she basically rigs it in some way. I don't know if it's true. I'm not saying that it is. I'm just saying what I've heard. But we'll move on now to some experiences that some people have had. Okay, so I've actually gone on TripAdvisor because it is on there and there are reviews on the place, and it was worth coming on here because it obviously is specifically for paranormal to go stay there. The first review I've come across: stayed here 22nd of August 2021 with a group of friends. Very disappointed. What a waste of time and money. That was the first review. Right, let's move on to another review. Okay, what's this one say? Not for the faint-hearted. A group of 7 of us visited the house for an overnight stay, and it was a really great night. I experienced an emotional sick feeling as soon as I walked up the path, and this only went away when I was outside of the house, and it came back as soon as I came back inside. Could that be nerves? Do you know what I mean? Or could it be something affecting them? I don't know. But you've got to keep in mind that, you know what's meant to be there. You could be nervous and that could be the sticky feeling. I don't know. I look at things like this when I go somewhere. If I feel like that when I enter somewhere, is it because I'm in a new place? Is it because it's a new place? If I go into, because I do revisit locations, but if it's a new place, sometimes I can feel really on edge. Is it because it's new? Do you know what I mean? You've got to take all that into account, especially if you know some sort of ghosty backstory to it. This went on for the first couple of hours. My friend was shoved by someone unseen as she walked into the hallway, and 2 others felt unsteady on their feet. We had a lot of activity throughout the night, lots of bangs upstairs when we were all downstairs. Carol, I'm joking, this is just what I've heard, I'm sorry. A strange vibration under chairs which was felt while sitting in one of the bedrooms and in the lounge. Many occasions of icy cold breezes coming and going, mainly at lower leg level, which is weird because you had the radiator guy, obviously everything turned up, but that same night they had cold breezes in the corridor, like ice cold blasts. We had sightings of a dark shadow in the dining room and hall, again, creepy. Lots and lots of activity on the equipment and words being recorded, such as demon, poltergeist, get out, run away, weak. Lots more words, but we will need to listen back to the recordings. Most words were of a dark nature. There were cat balls lighting up and meters being triggered. In one photo taken, there is an obvious spirit of a child in the coal cupboard. Oh. The airing cupboard door opened. Wow. One of the party had a horrible hissing growl sound very close to her ear, and she jumped and shouted out, which in turn made us jump. I did not hear that growl, but others in the room heard it clearly. I did not feel particularly scared in the house, irrespective of the things that were experienced and the eerie feel it has, as there is something quite comforting there also. Perhaps it is because I was with a group with others, and I would definitely not go in there alone. I would go in there alone. I'll go alone. I would actually stay there on my own. I would not go in there alone ever, and I am used to spirits. I would definitely go back again, as there is a kind of pull to go. I'm looking forward to knowing what else is on the recordings that we didn't know about at the time. It will take a long time to work through all the footage, and once it is available, I will share some photos. I was offered to visit this place 3 years ago, and I wasn't brave enough to accept, but I'm glad I went. But to be honest, I wouldn't want my grown-up, adult children to go in case they were negatively affected by the experience. I would actually go on my own. I wouldn't sleep there, I don't think, on my own. But that's nothing to do with a poltergeist in the house. It's a strange house and I wouldn't want to sleep there on my own. But I would investigate there for hours on my own, 100%. Because I know I'm safe in there, as in from the living. So I would actually go investigate there on my own, because the paranormal doesn't scare me. It doesn't scare me, it intrigues me. So things make me jump and I do feel on edge at times, yes. But if there's a noise, we don't run away from the noise, we go to the noise to see if we can debunk it first off and yeah, see what it is. So yeah, I would stay there on my own, 100%. Okay, so another one, boring and very much overrated. Okay, so I've just popped onto the mirror.co.uk. If you don't know what the Mirror is, it is newspaper, but obviously a lot's moved online. I think they still sell the paper, obviously, but I'm on the online version. So Claire Cowell, a paranormal investigator, claims she captured the clearest photo yet of the Black Monk of Pontefract. A ghost hunter claims, oh my days, ads, go away. This is the only problem with this. No, thank you. A ghost hunter claims that she has captured the clearest photo yet of the notoriously violent poltergeist known as the Black Monk of Pontefract. Paranormal investigator Claire Cowell believes she has taken a chilling image showing the arm of the eerie figure in a monk's robe clutching rosary beads. We'll get to the picture, don't worry. She was inside the former home of the Pritchard family at 30 East Drive in Pontefract, West Yorkshire, the site of one of Europe's most notorious and powerful alleged hauntings. The family said they were subjected to many years of torment by the so-called Black Monk of Pontefract, who is said to still haunt the building. Mum of four, Claire, a researcher for the East Drive Paranormal Group, claims her photo is the most definitive proof she and the fellow ghost hunters have ever seen of the ghoul. I'm tripping over my words because I've read so much, I think that's what it is. So here is the photo, showing you now on the screen. This is the image Claire took while she says, show the arm of a ghostly figure in a monk's robe clutching rosary beads. The 44-year-old said, I have been in 30 East Drive a few times, and this particular night the equipment had been active. We had seen marbles being thrown and we kept hearing taps and bangs. It was the end of the night, about 11 p.m, and most of the team had already left. There was only me and 2 other team members left, and we were packing up. The other 2 were in the living room, and I went into the kitchen to get a drink, but as I did, I heard a tap in the hallway at the bottom of the stairs. I thought maybe it could have been another marble, so with only the kitchen light on behind me, I took a photo but couldn't see anything. I was unaware of what I'd captured until I went back into the living room to tell the team. The arm you can see in the photo is not a solid form. It looks like mist and is very strange, but you can see the sleeve of a robe hanging down. There is something which looks like rosary beads in his hand dangling down. It really is the only solid picture we have ever really caught on the monk up until now. When I realised what it was in the picture, I wasn't scared, I was more shocked, impressed and intrigued. Everyone has been dying to see what this monk actually looks like. I've never seen such a solid, clear picture as that and may never get something like that again. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. It's so exciting. And then she goes on, with the mirror, in the mirror it goes on to say the history, which obviously we've already been through. So let's go back to this photo a minute. Okay, so I'm zooming in. It's like it's, I think, is that the stairs round there? Is that the stairs? Round that corner, I don't know, but you can see, right, for instance, there's some things hanging. You can see obviously how black they are that are hanging on the wall, I'm assuming on some hooks, and then that's more of a grey, and it does look like a hand clutching around something, and it does look like mist. It really does look like mist, like the entire form of that, it looks like a mist. I can't, what does everybody think? What does everybody think? I do find it bizarre. I do find it very bizarre. Is that the Black Monk? Is it? I'm excited for her. I'd be excited if I couldn't debunk. I wasn't there. All I've got is this photo. She was there. Do you know what I mean? So if she thought, obviously, oh no, it could have been this actually. Do you know what I mean? But she obviously couldn't debunk it. How exciting is that? That is really cool. Really, really cool. So guys, what do you think to 30 East Drive? Have you been? I'd love to know if you've been and if you got anything. If you think it's rigged or rigged by Carol. I don't know. It's just, I'm just saying what I've heard. It's not that I'm saying it's true. It's definitely not that at all. But I'm just saying what I've heard. I don't know how I feel about it. Is it overrated? Is it I don't know. I have not been. I've not been, and it's the first time I've delved into it properly. I think the only reason why I've not looked into it properly is because of the mixed signals I'm getting on the place, and I'm already a bit funny about paid locations. Let me know what you think in the comments though. It does intrigue me, and I think I'd want to go just to see for myself. Knowing my luck, I'd get a very quiet night there. Is it overrated? I don't know, but paid locations, not all of them, and I've said this in a couple of these videos during this series, they bother me, and 30 East Drive is top of the list of is it overrated, is it rigged for me. Questioning, not saying it is, I'm just saying it's top of the list of questioning whether it is for me, because I've heard so much, but it's all rumours, because I don't know, I don't know personally, so it's just a rumour, isn't it? But I'd really appreciate if you've been to let me know about it. If you'd rather message me on socials, Thought Spooky Instagram and Facebook, go give us a message. I'd love to know your experiences if you've been. I need to watch maybe some videos of people that have been. Maybe that's what I need to do. But yeah, I've really enjoyed talking about 30 East Drive. I've learned about the story. It was quite cool to read Bill's story, the owner of the house now. I'd heard a little bit about Carol the neighbour, but I didn't know she claimed to be a medium, so I learned something new there. And I learned a bit more about the Black Monk. But he is, if it's true, the Black Monk is somebody that, well, a poltergeist, that is the most haunted place in the world, surely. I mean, I don't know, but I mean, the stuff I read out that apparently this Black Monk did, you don't hear of that. I go out week in, week out doing investigations, and nothing, and I've done it for a few years, nothing like that has happened. That's just crazy. Crazy. So it must be the most haunted house in the world, surely. Anyway, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna stop yapping. Thank you so much for joining me tonight, guys. I love your company, and I will speak to you all in my next video. But until then, sleep tight.